Call the board meeting for June 18th to order. Roll call, Ms. Jenkins.
Mr. Richards?
Present.
Mr. Tobler?
Here.
Ms. Abrams?
Here.
Mr. Westmoreland?
Present.
Mr. Duncan? Mr. Anthony?
Here.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Mr. Piazza? Ms. Dominguez?
Present.
All right, I'd ask you to please stand with us. I'd like to ask Mr. Jinko, would you lead us in the pledge tonight, sir?
Stand, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Item 1C, consider approval of the board minutes from June 11th, 2024. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Motion made by Mr. Westmoreland, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Anthony. Any public comments? Any questions? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote.
Voting is open. Okay.
Yes, Ms. Cindy.
Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 2A, we will hear from Dr. Lisa Fussell, a presentation on the new accountability system by the Bessie Board. Thank you, Dr. Fussell.
I am so excited to share with you all. This is like going to be a big overview. We'll probably break it down a little bit further once we get a little bit more guidance from LDOE, because what happened is the Bessie Board, they redesigned the entire accountability system, and it's not a normal little tweak, it is a major overhaul. Then they shared it with several groups, and there were a few little tweaks that they made to it. So some of it we didn't hear presented again. We just want to make sure, we have all the details. But I'm going to give a very broad overview. So the first thing is there are 3 pillars to this accountability. I can't stand still. Grow, achieve, and thrive. So it's 3 domains we're going to look at. So Ms. Cindy, if you'll keep going, that's what the system's based on. And you could keep going about the, so here, we'll stop here just for a second. So one part's going to be on growth. So how do the students in a school district grow? There'll be a whole measurement scorecard is what they call it on that. Achieve, that's straight, just the proficiency. That is just how did the kids do, advanced mastery, or, that's what they call proficient. And then thrive is our kind of our high school indicators. That's where our ACT and our credentials live. If you keep going, Miss Cindy. Sorry, I wish it were a Google slide.
It's not, and the pages didn't.
Sometimes it takes them a minute to load.
Okay.
But if it doesn't load, that's okay, because I could still tell you about it.
Okay. You go ahead.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to bring it back up.
So, but I really wanted them to see the scorecard. Here's the real big difference. What we used to have was an index. So they would say, let's just take a senior. If a senior graduated and they just had a high school diploma, that was 100 points on an index. And then, is that the, yeah.
You want the scorecard?
Yeah, keep going.
Toward the end.
Okay.
So wait, go right back there.
This one?
Go right there.
Right there.
So this is where the growth comes from. Students have to grow in order for us to get points in this category, which has been this is one of the things that we do very well in Tangipahoa Parish, is grow students. So bringing them up a level, and in this scorecard, now you can go to the scorecard so they can see what the number actually looks like. It's going to be right at the end of measuring growth. There's the first one.
Page 10.
Page.
Okay, right there.
Okay.
Right there. So the score, that's the grow, the middle's the achieve, and then the last one's going to be the thrive when we get to the end. But if you look at growing, it's in math and it's in English. But you see the number 41.5? That is a straight percent. So they're not doing the index anymore where they weight it and they say, okay, you get this many. If if you get 150 points if the kid makes an advance. They're not doing that anymore. This is if there are 100 kids in the class and 41.5 of them grow, that's your number. It's a straight, no more plugging it into a calculator to get the number. English, math, straight growth. Then the lowest 25%, so they line all the kids up, and if you grow the bottom 25%, it's like an additional, that's what's double weighted. So not only did you grow kids, but you took the ones that were at the very bottom and you grew them significantly. And then our ELL population. So if you, in ELL, this is by every school. So if a school does not have 10 students in the ELL subgroup, then they would not generate the score. But for us, we would still generate that score as a district. Keep going, Miss Cindy. So that's the grow. Here's the achieve. Keep going to, so here it's just straight math, science, English, social studies. If 100 kids take the test and 50 make advanced or mastery, you are 50% in Thrive. That's just a straight number. No more of the weighting them by advanced mastery. And of course, it's still basically a 0 for the others because you don't get a score for those. And then the Thrive. Graduation rate, our national assessments. Stop right there 1 second, Miss Cindy. You see the ACT score 20. What we did in the old system was if you had an 18 and all the way up, you could get a few points. So if you made an 18, you might be this. All the way up to a 31. In this case, once you make a 20, it don't matter how many 31s you have, you're getting just the percent that were 20 or better, or the work keys or the ASVAB. Keep going, Miss Cindy. So this is a change too. So they're making them in little bundles. So eventually, you're going to have apprenticeship along with the credential to get what they're calling the accelerator bundle, which that's something we'll talk about a little bit later. But this is why when we go talk to Kiwanis clubs, Rotary clubs, well, I just was at the Ponchatoula Kiwanis, I think last week, and I told them, we have to have business partners because our kids who in with a credential have to go have some experience in order to really be what we call thriving and career ready. So they're going to phase it in because what they learn real quick from all of us is business people have a liability when our students are involved with them. So there's a process that we have to go through to make people apprenticeships. Tangipahoa Parish school system, we've already been in this process. We already have an apprenticeship with the business, but it's been a model to learn so that we can establish that with other industry. Right now it's been primarily in welding, construction. And so here's what the bundles look like now. You'll notice university, you'll notice career, and then service. We're really excited about the service accelerator because that's recognizing our students who are choosing the military, who might not be going right to the workforce as they have defined it previously. And so you see, to get the career bundle, that's still what we're used to talking about, credentials or fast forward apprenticeships. Our career center has put us in a unique position to be very ready for the career accelerator because most of our classes are aligned to the matter of fact, we wrote, Tangipahoa Parish School System wrote one of the fast forward pathways. Miss Carly Cooper, she went to, I can't tell you how many other districts to get them to buy into our apprenticeship and our fast forward pathway. And then if you look at the university, you have to have the ACT of 20, and then it goes along with the AP, the IB, the CLEP test, which we buy all of those tests and pay for them at Tangipahoa Parish School System. So that's the Thrive part, and you can keep going, Miss Cindy. That's more about, this is what, right here, this is what Louisiana looks like if they take last year's data, the state, and they plug it into the new accountability system. This is what we will all get. And you'll see it's just, again, they take all of the indicators and then they do one average. So 41.2. What they're going to do for us in November, we will get our accountability score in the old system and they will give us a simulated score in the new system. And if you keep going, Miss Cindy, this is what this is Florida's letter grade scale. And if you keep going, you'll see Mississippi. So they did a lot of work, and a lot of the stuff you see is because Mississippi and Florida did something similar, and we've done a lot of similar things to them. In Mississippi, Science of Reading, they did that before Louisiana adopted that. If you go one more, you'll see go one more. So they're going to phase us in. So this will be the original scale because if you're currently in A, B, C, or D, when you go to the new system, it's going to be quite shocking because all the numbers are going to look so different than they did before. So this is kind of the bell curve for that. And they will they'll do that every year until it's fully implemented. So, but it's not any more of that point this. It's going to be very clear. If you're this, you're an A. If this, you're a B. It won't be, right now we get a letter grade for every index. There'll be one letter grade for the overall scorecard. So that's kind of just a big overview of what it looks like. I don't know if, oh, that's the last slide anyway. But go back to the scorecard one more time, Ms. Cindy, the one that showed Louisiana's scorecard. You'll go one more.
No?
Keep going. Not the letter grade, but that. Right there. So we will get this for every school. We do have some combo schools. So they do have what it looks like if you have a combo Independence High, Kenwood High, they have the 7 through 12. They'll have a little bit different because Thrive, as you can see, is only going to be on our high schools. So our elementary schools and our middle schools will just have the first two, the growth and proficiency. There's no more of the interest and opportunities that we were taught. They don't have that for elementary and middle school. That's simply an indicator part for our high school. So it's quite different. And I'll come back again later when they have it kind of finalized and we get some initial data for our district and see if you have any questions. But if you have any questions tonight, I know this much about it, but I can definitely give it a try.
All right, thank you, Dr. Purcell. Any questions?
It's a lot. I'm glad you have to learn it, and then you can tell us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Purcell. And the item we've been waiting for several weeks because last time he came, he brought a tornado with him. Yeah. Presentation of the consideration of the proposed strategic plan by Dr. Joshua Starr.
I've been accused of much worse.
You keep that northeast weather.
Good evening, everybody. So as a former accountability guy, I always like, looking at what Dr. Purcell just presented, I always like to say that best today to help you ask better questions and name names, and these state accountability systems are reminders that American education is really good at ranking and sorting. So it's interesting. It's always interesting to see how accountability systems can influence at the local level. But it's a real pleasure to be with you again and to see all of you again. I am not going to go through this whole thing tonight.
Amen.
I'm going to go. We're gonna, definitely welcome a lot of discussion. Going to share with you the process and talk a little bit about what I think some of the next steps should be. So as you know, we've been at this for a while. We started with visiting every school. I think that was back in October. We visited every school. We've done a bunch of interviews and focus groups and surveys, community forums, et cetera, just to get a real sense of what people want to see happening in the schools and how to get to the next level of work. And there's lessons learned during that process, of course, that I think are not only about what people hope and dream for their kids, but also what they want to see happen immediately to address some of the issues. As I'll share, well, I'll go into this in a second. This format is our format. Once it's approved, we can help with design so it looks and reflects Tangi colors and images and visuals and all that, so it's a publishable report. So this is not the final format. This is just the way of presenting the 6 goals and or the 6 entry points and the goals therein. And let me also say, before we start, in my view and my experience and all the work that I've done when I was sitting in the seat, and also that we've done helping people with this, a plan is just a plan. It's all about what you do as a board, as a community, as a superintendent, as a leadership team within schools. Plans are relatively easy. The hard part is actually making it happen. And a good plan also reflects sort of 3 different areas, which is kind of the next piece of work, right? One is, here are things that we're already doing that may need to be just improved on a little bit. Here are some things that we may need to reconsider. And then here's some new things that will get us to the next level. So you'll see a lot of that in there, and that's part of the next level of work for the board and the leadership team to say, okay, how are we going to break this down to make sure it aligns with everything we want to achieve for our kids. So we use 6 entry points for our planning, and they're on the right. First is teaching and learning, right? Teaching and learning is, of course, what you do every day with kids. The second is about shared values, right? What do we believe about our kids, our families, our communities, our schools? The third is about decision making. Fourth is resource allocation according to vision and need. Fifth is talent management. It's all about people. And the sixth is about culture. So in all the districts that we work with, we think about these entry points as ways of organizing your collective action. And I will say it is different in every community. When I was in my first superintendency, teaching and learning was the #1 issue. I may have told you the story before. We had 120 different approaches to teaching reading among 12 elementary schools. Right? So teaching and learning was #1. Next one I did, culture was the issue. We had all the curriculum in the world, great operations. The way people felt about the school system, that was the issue. So that's part of what we try to unpack is how do you, where do you want to start, right? What do you want to focus on? So I am, like I said, I'm not going to go through every single one of these. I'm going to talk about them at a high level. Please stop me at any time if there are any questions that I'm able to answer. If it's something you don't understand, or if it's not clear, or you want to just know more about it. Shared values bind a school system together. They bind a community together. And there are enormous shared values in certainly what we uncovered in all the conversations that we had with folks. And while every single school district that I've ever been in, there are things that will cause people to disagree. There's always, we don't talk enough about the things that bring us together. And in my mind, a board, a leadership team, schools, all actions should be directly aligned to the shared values that you have. I'm not going to read each of these, but the ones that, as talking to people, doing the community forums, all the work we did, the 4 that really stood out for me were relationships, transparency, engagement, and citizenship. And for those of you, and I think it was Mr. Toll, was it you? No, it was somebody else. Somebody actually on the board recommended, originally we had one called discipline, but we changed it to citizenship because we thought it was a more aspirational one. And in each of these shared value statements, what we did was we wrote a belief and then an action, because there is some accountability on the part of decision makers to act in accordance with your values. If you believe that, let's just take transparency, because I'm looking at that one, that stakeholders deserve that, to know how decisions are made, then you have to actually show that you are making decisions transparently, just as an example. So I'll give you like a few seconds, we won't do a whole sustained silent reading portion of the meeting. But just take a look so you can kind of get familiar. And again, you may have read this already. It's been out there in the public. Certainly, this is yours. If you want to tweak the language, rewrite. But this is how we structure it, because again, it's powerful when you define what the value is and then what you are going to do in accordance with that statement. So I'm going to leave that there and see if there are any questions. Okay? I'll keep moving. So there are 3 goals with each entry point. Each goal has metrics and strategies underneath. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I want to give you some examples so that you can orient yourself to it as you do a deeper dive into it. And again, we've received some feedback on some of the initial drafts, so we made some changes actually in accordance with and now one of the next things that's going to happen is you're going to have to look at the new state accountability system, just incorporate some of those metrics as well. So in teaching and learning, the 3 goals that we've laid out are: first, reading on grade level by third grade, which I know you all have been working on. It obviously requires additional work, but certainly that's something that should be a non-negotiable for the community. Second is about access to high-quality core curriculum with personalization, interventions, and acceleration. So you have a certain standard for everybody, and then you got to make sure that kids have opportunities to exceed it where appropriate, and also are being supported to achieve it. And then the third is about a personalized college and career pathway with a workforce credential and reflects the essential competencies that you envision for all graduates, right? So this is kind of, a lot of districts have been doing this recently. It's called Portrait of a Graduate, where they really articulate what it means to be a great citizen within the community and what you need to thrive within that community. So again, this should be familiar to you in many ways because you've been working on some of these things, but there is a need in our view to take it to the next level. I'm not going to go through all of this because you can see it, but I want to orient you to it because there's one for each goal, and this is really the next piece of work, is to take all of this and break it down. Okay, so what we did was I felt it was important to have a statement about why this is important. If you have a goal, like why do all kids need to read on grade level by third grade? What's important about that? Why is that something people need to understand? And then there should be outcomes that you're going to have to measure, so that you go into the state accountability system. You look at your data, you say, okay, how many kids do we need to move by school? And there should be school plans and department plans that follow suit for each of these goals. And then you have your metrics. You have DIBELS here to use, you have LEAP, and then observation rubrics to see, is it actually happening? And then here are some of the strategies that we believe you should use to actually get there. Regular observation of instruction and student learning, right? Family engagement, something that came up a lot when we talked, and we know how important, right? Families are your first teachers. High quality early childhood education. Professional development is another one, and then innovative interventions and supports. There are a whole bunch of different ways of doing it. I would say, you know, I wish that I and my team came up with brand new things that nobody's ever heard before, right? A lot of these are evidence-based practices that we know will drive improvement. So let me stop there and see if there are any questions, because again, I'm not going to go through each one. I'll skip to the next goal, but this is how we've laid out each of the goals, right? There's outcomes, there's a why statement, there's outcomes, there's metrics and strategies. Any questions about that? So we have one for, this is our second one for teaching and learning, and then for high school success as well. And as you'll note in there, we put in, based on some feedback, TOPS qualification, ASVAB qualification, again, looking at the BESB stuff. This is where you want to take a look at some of the state accountability, but that happens at the department level, right? That happens at the school level and department level to determine what are the appropriate metrics and what are the goals. That's what happens next. You'll also see in each of these, there's a community engagement thread that goes throughout, which I'll get to in a moment when that kind of comes in here. The second goal that rose to the top, or under transparent decision making, the key word that rose to the top there was transparency. In my estimation, and based on what I heard from conversations and focus groups and community forums, and it is one of the greatest challenges that all school districts have, people don't know how decisions are being made. And when I say that, it's generally, like in almost every school district you're in. And there's certainly that sentiment that we found in Tangipahoa Parish, that people just don't know how decisions are being made. And I am certainly a believer that, you know, because public education is a public entity, you have a sacred trust with your public, it's important that people understand how decisions are made, whether it's curriculum, whether it's budget, whether it's facilities, whatever it may be. It's better than having social media or somebody else define the terms of the debate, and it's hard. Like you gotta work really hard at being transparent and engaging the community. But it was something that rose to the top as we were talking with folks out there. So what we put in here are 3 goals, right? One's pretty straightforward. School and system level decisions will be made with transparency. Another one is engaging the community a little further in decision making, which is actually the one I'm going to skip to. And then school-based decision-making teams will be established to increase collaboration. They're just methods for increasing collaboration, increasing transparency, make sure people know what's going on. I'm going to skip to goal 2 because this is where we are recommending sort of a new investment, right? Which would be some work amongst the board in interest-based decision-making and some new governance structures, and then the establishment of an office for community engagement. There's not a lot. You have 34 schools. You have a very complex community, as you know much better than I do. It's not uniform. It's not a homogeneous community. There's a need to get out and talk to folks. 83% of your kids have received free and reduced price meals. There are significant needs that exist in communities and families. Someone actually needs to be overseeing the process by which you are engaging the community in supporting the schools, making sure resources are getting where they need. Schools can't do it alone, right? Schools can't do it alone. There aren't very many resources that we could identify, or frankly, a really clear strategy from the board down to say, you know what, we're going to partner with, could be mental health, could be social services, could, name whatever it is. There was significant feedback that we got about parents not being involved. Parents aren't going to be more involved. I really do believe that every single parent wants the best for their child, and they will get involved appropriately when they have opportunity. Sometimes they may not know the opportunity. Sometimes they may need a little help. I would suggest that a new level of work for Tangipahoa is establishing an office for community engagement to really focus on how you bring the community in, how you're working with them, how they are part of the solution, because it was a significant question and concern that was raised during our conversation. Let me stop there and see if there are any questions about that before I go to the third area, because I know there's a lot. Yes, ma'am.
When you say bring in an office of how to get the parents and community involved?
Yeah, so one thing that I've seen in my own time as in working in school districts, and we've seen throughout the country, is oftentimes things like parent engagement just gets added to the list. It's one additional thing that a principal has to do, one additional thing that a teacher has to do. And everybody should, of course, be welcoming and inviting and working with families. But a dedicated resource that can collaborate with various community agencies could be thinking about the business community and how to get more internships for kids. Could be working with social service community, the health community, to think about where there may be some needs there. In my previous district, we worked with the community and set up food banks in districts where we knew there was, in schools where we knew there was a lot of food insecurity. So it's part of that is coordinating with the community. Part of that is direct outreach and service to parents. If you know that there are a couple kids that their families may be struggling for whatever reason, their parents need help. When you just add it to an assistant principal's or a principal's plate or a teacher, it's more reactive than proactive. It's not strategic enough. So that's these things, if they are that important to you, and it's certainly important to the community that we spoke with and all the people we spoke with, you got to put some resources behind it and have a thorough strategy.
I agree with you there, because that's one of the things that I think that is most important is, because I'm on the school, and to get the parent involvement back into the schools. Back now it was parent, church, school, and now we kind of eliminated the church part, and then so now the parents are not as much involved. And I think if we can get the parents back engaged, then we can see some better progress for our children.
To start, I also locked in on the comment that you made about getting parents involved, and for me it's kind of bleak to, it's kind of a bleak hope that we would be able to get parents as involved as we'd like, as it would be to consider what we can do to engage the children, since we don't have the parents and we do have the children. Doing something, maybe we can do something that will be a reverse infection, you know, to get the children engaged and then affect the parents.
Yeah, so let me say it this way. There are a number of approaches and solutions and strategies that have been used in in different school districts. May look like this. You need a resource and a strategy, is what whatever it may be. And there are tons of different ways of doing it. It requires a resource and strategy so that you can decide what's the right way to do it in tangible hope. That's the recommendation. You make an investment in it in some way, shape, or form, and not just, expect, because people really do. It's important to all the folks we talked to. Okay, let me go to resource allocation. And in resource allocation, there's sort of 3 areas, and some of this is just process issue. One is about site-based accounting for school-based expenditures. And it was very interesting to me to note that, and this goes back to the transparency issue, to be able to say, how are we spending our money? Right? Is it clear how, because there are, certainly from people we talk to, there are a lot of assumptions about who gets what and why. And I'm sure you hear those all of the time. And this goes back to the transparency question, just say, okay, are we able to account for how local tax dollars and state and federal dollars are being spent, what they're being spent on, and then, of course, what the return on investment is, and where we should put our money. If we believe in certain things, we want to see, well, are we allocating resources? So part of it's just kind of in some ways, almost a technical accounting aspect of just making sure, and I know Ms. McNeil is working on that, to have site-based budgeting. The second is one, again, I know that you are working on. This is not out of the blue. This also goes to the transparency issue. I am not, I look at the district I used to run, we were growing by 2,500 kids a year, so we were building buildings left and right, so I know how to build buildings and all of that. But I'm not a facilities expert in that way. But the facilities, the beliefs about how decisions around facilities are made are rife with assumptions and people's perceptions. In my view, there needs to be a long-term comprehensive facilities plan that people really understand about how decisions are being made, who's making them, and by long-term, I'm talking 20 years, right? And so to say this is the kind of resources we need. Here's what we're going to do in this school. Here's what we're going to do in that school. Here's why we're going to do it. Here's our decision-making matrix, and you get to decide, right? Again, I know work is being done on that, which is great, and I know that there's court aspects as well. Part of it is having a clear plan that's out there that everybody can see. There is, I do believe, and I've done this before, there is a lot of benefit to having stakeholders involved in that and them really seeing and understanding. Because it's not like you have enough money. Nobody has enough money to do everything you want, and you have to make decisions. Do you want to go geothermal? There are all these different decisions that have to be made. Again, the transparency issue is critical. And then the third piece, and this is what I want to flip to, I think it's in the third one, is the idea, and this would be new, of designating some schools. I'm calling them turnaround schools in quotes because that's kind of the term that's used out there, but you can call them whatever. Some call them intervention schools, some call them innovation schools. With 34 campuses, 34 schools, there is a need to tier your supports. Some schools need more than others. Some schools are going to be okay with, you know, a lighter touch. And you actually, you know, I think, and what we're recommending is that you designate certain schools as, again, I'm putting turnaround in quotes because you can use whatever language you want, with a leader who says, yes, these schools have greater needs, they need more support, and this is what we're going to do to support them. So it's not treating everybody the same, it's actually differentiating and designating some schools. That can be a hard pill to swallow because nobody wants to be a turnaround school, but I bet you if I were to ask each of you to name me the 6 schools that you're most concerned about, they're probably, and I'm not going to ask you to do that right now, there would probably be rough agreement on, you know, 80–90% agreement on what those 6 schools are. You know, what we've seen in systems that are, you know, really improving is that they name it. Say, yeah, these are the schools that are having, maybe it's academics, maybe it's discipline, you know, whatever it may be. You have to decide what the metrics are, but we're recommending as some new work to designate some schools as turnaround, and show that, you know, it's the Eisenhower matrix, right? What's urgent and what's important, and there's probably some urgency around a smaller number of schools that will require some additional support. So that's the one I want to highlight there. Any questions about the resource allocation? No one's fallen asleep yet, which I think is good. There's a lot in here, I know. Okay, we'll keep going. Talent management. 90% of the budget, right, is people. And the job of leaders is to support people so they do their best work. And the 3 goals in here are pretty straightforward. First, about career ladders. You know, there is because there's a lot of alt-cert and non-cert folks, and we have a teacher shortage happening around the country, but Louisiana certainly has one as well. Part of the challenge in keeping people is showing that there's a path. It's, you know, becoming instructional coaches, becoming leaders, whatever it may be. Having established career ladders is a really effective way of engaging people and helping people do really good work. Leadership development is another significant area that has to be addressed. And again, I know there is a lot of work going on in all of these actually. And around by leadership development, it's really making sure that there are some consistent practices among principals, among central office leaders. They're doing the right work to support and have the tools and skills and the knowledge to support schools. The principal is the most important person in the district. I've never seen a great school without a great principal. How the central office is supporting great principals and how people are being developed into great principals, what's your bench? You got to be systematic and thorough about leadership development. And again, I know there's a lot of work that goes on already around that. It's just about taking it to the next level. And then the third is about equitable distribution of personnel. And I know that there are legal and court-ordered aspects of some of this, and I'm not going to get into that. That's not my bailiwick, and that has to be interpreted at the local level. But there is a need to assign talent to task. And again, it goes back to that need to lead boldly. And if you know that you have some really great people that could do the right work, you need to put them there, is essentially what it comes down to. So within there, again, there are some different strategies that really sit within designating roles for certain people, establishing roles and responsibilities, and a lot of it's just planning. So some of these things are already going on in the system. It's a matter of kind of lifting them up, maybe taking some of them apart and saying, okay, what's the next level, so we can make sure that our kids have the best. Okay, finally, culture. Again, this came up as one of the top issues that we found. Culture, the way people feel about being in school and their perceptions about what's going on in other schools. Culture came up over and over and over. One aspect of this is about improving student discipline. That was between transparency and facilities and discipline. Those were the 3 sort of top things that came up. There is a need to have a comprehensive evidence-based approach to discipline. It should reflect what we know about how to improve discipline. Just like we are now, everyone's focused on the science of reading right now, well, we should be focused on the science of discipline, what actually works, to make sure that kids, all kids, walk across the stage ready to thrive in the future. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done around discipline. Second, in community engagement. This is, again, you'll see some similarities here in some of these, which, there's some consistent themes, but that's part of culture as well. The more that people are involved in a school, the more they're welcomed, and the more student voice is activated, the more they're involved in decision making, the more you're going to have a positive culture. Right? I mean, it's pretty straightforward. And then the third is simply about schools being positive places for students and employees. This is, that's a pretty standard statement, but what this is about is action. If you do surveys, if you have student voice, if you have teacher voice, right, if you do something, you should have metrics around this. The board should be monitoring. You should say, here's what it means to be a positive place, and here's what we're going to do about it if we see that some of our schools and offices are not. So there's a lot of what's in here. There are a lot of strategies in here. Most of the metrics that you find with culture around surveys and visits and conversations with people, that's a lot of how it happens. The real issue with culture, because you can't change culture by memo, is when you do see something, what are you doing about it? What's the strategy to do something about it? Culture is one of the hardest things to change, but it is ultimately the most important if you actually want to drive school improvement. And again, you need some system level leadership there. So the next piece that we are going to we're start working with Ms. Stilley and the team on is the implementation, right? How are you going to, next is communicate, right? This has to be designed in a way that looks and feels like a Tangipahoa Parish document, right? Not something that we're giving. Obviously, it's your plan. Any changes, make the changes. Then, so you got to figure out, next is communication and the vision, and then is the internal system alignment. If this is what you expect, how does the board calendar reflect the strategic plan? When are you monitoring third grade reading? When are you monitoring culture? When are you, that's what you all have to decide. And then the establishment of some leadership development and coaching, some community engagement and support, and then of course is the monitoring and adjustment. I'll end on this. A plan is only as good as, it's the first step. It is only as good as the execution. As I always say, like, anybody can join a gym. Doesn't mean you're going to show up every day and go to get healthy. So it has been an incredible privilege to work with you all and work with the community and learn more and just kind of help bring some outside eyes to this, to what is a strong and vibrant school system. I also just want to note that oftentimes when a superintendent has been here for 6 years, you don't want to do another plan because you're okay. I got it good, right? You just kind of keep moving. It's true, they coast. So the fact that you're saying, no, we need to do something else, we need to figure out what the next level is, we know we have some good things, but we want to get to the next level, that's a powerful statement, right? Because you can be good, but do you want to be great? You want to get to. So what I hope you see in here is a reflection of not only many of the strengths that exist within the Tangipahoa Parish school system, but an opportunity to do something even more powerful, so every single child can walk across that stage ready to thrive. So, any questions you have, happy to answer. I know there's a lot right through. I hope you got a chance to take a look at it. If there are any questions, comments, I'm happy to take them.
It's a lot of information, and I know I've read over these pages. I agree with probably every recommendation that are on these slides. So I don't find fault in saying, I feel like a lot of this stuff we already know. And one of the key things that a couple things you said that I wanted to point out, bold leadership. I have mentioned before to Ms. Stilley, and I want to mention it again publicly, that I believe we need to get to a system, we may disagree on this, but where we have contracts with our principals, where we have a 3-year window to where that we either perform and then We advertise that position, and they have to prove why they should still be in that position. Otherwise, it's a chance for change at every level. And I know that's going to be controversial when we talk about doing that, but coming in a world where we need to see results, we're going to have some turnover when someone gets in a position and not just stay there. The second thing that I want to point out is one of the, I remember what slide it was, but you said college path and career path. You could have easily used the word or, because that's what we typically assign kids and say you're either college or your career. And I love the word and, because most of us that have been through college also had a career to get us through college. A lot of us that went to college ended up in a career that was not associated with their college degree. So, you know, we're not in a position where we expect our kids in high school to pick one path and stay with that path. It's helpful for kids to go to college to be able to have a career to fall back on, or a vocation to fall back on.
So these statistics are a little old, but only 20% of high school graduates go on to enroll full-time in a 4-year degree-bearing program in the fall. Only 20%. The average age of a college student in America is 27. Most people do not experience college in the way that, you know, oh, I graduated, I got my college sweatshirt on, I'm going off to the dorm, and I'm going to spend the next 4 years. Most people who go to college do not experience it in that way. They experience, they're doing both, they're doing a mix, they stop and start. It's, yeah.
And I don't say this to embarrass you. I say this as being transparent, which is what we just heard a lot of. What does this study typically cost us? We're in a public setting and the public are watching this. What did this cost us to have this study? This was a comprehensive study.
I would have to go, I don't want to misspeak, but I'll certainly go back and look at the statement of work and the contract.
I mean, ballpark.
Yeah, it really depends, because what we did here was we visited every school, which we don't typically do in a strategic planning, and we did 7 community forums. So we just did this in another district where we did 1 community forum, and it cost about $100K, but I don't. It was around there. It was a different kind of construction, shorter timeline, and only 1 community forum with only a couple school visits. A district of 26,000 kids. So I'd have
It's
to go
safe
back
to say that ours is going to be a lot higher than that.
It was more, but there was a lot more that went into it also.
Like I said, I'm not saying that to embarrass you
No,
or to.
please.
It's
Yeah.
just we're talking about transparency, and I think the people watching this, every time we do one of these studies, whether it's a feasibility study, whether it's a facility study, or whether it is a strategy, this costs us money. You know, and even of course the implementation of this will also cost us money. But I think it's fair and being transparent.
Absolutely.
To put that out there. All right. Any other questions? Y'all are easy tonight.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Dr.
I
Sir.
appreciate it.
Good job.
Thank you, sir. All right, on over to item 3A. No action needed on that one, but item 3A, consider committee reports from the Personnel Committee from June 11th.
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve the Personnel Committee report, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Minguez. Any questions, comments, or public input? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Voting is open. We didn't need to vote on that. Question mark. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
This is probably a good time to ask for a motion to waive the rules to enter our Personnel Committee report from tonight's meeting. And we'll explain why in a few minutes. But we will need a unanimous vote to add it to the agenda.
Motion to add it to our agenda.
We have a motion to waive the rules to add the Personnel Committee report from tonight's meeting, June the 18th, and a second by Ms. Janice. Okay. Do we have a motion and a second to waive the rules to add this to the agenda? Reason being is because it's a one-item committee report has to do with the hiring of our human resource position, that it's timely to get that position filled as soon as possible. Hearing any discussion, questions, call for a vote to waive the rules.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, so then we will consider the Personnel Committee report for June 18th. Do I hear a motion to accept that report?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Mr. Minguez makes a motion to accept the report.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Westmoreland. Any questions? Public input, call for a question. Thank you, Ms. Jenkins, for being flexible.
Thank you for being patient. Mr. Mingus made the motion.
Yes.
Mr. Minguez make the motion, and Mr. Westmoreland seconded.
Okay, thank you. Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 3B.
Wait, before you move on, Ms. Tilly, while we're on personnel, we have a new hired principal in the house, or are we going to introduce him?
Yes. I was actually going to do that on our comments.
Ms. Abrams was going to do that. Ms. Abrams, you want to
Yes,
recognize Dr.
we'd like
Sanders?
to welcome to Independence High School, Dr. Sanders. He's here with us tonight. If you'd like to come up and say a few words of how your time has gone so far at Independence High?
Put you on the spot. Come on up.
Before you start, I'll say thank you for your service to Punchtoula High School, too.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I want to thank you all for the confidence that you've instilled in me to be able to go into the Independence community to make a change. I'm excited about the opportunity. I've been boots on the ground for the last 2 weeks, walking the campus, seeing what we have going on. I actually just spent this evening doing a video interview and photo shoot to put out into the community so that people know who I am and what I'm about and what we're expecting to see happen. So you all will see that coming out within the next week or so. So we're excited about the work. We've got putting a dream team staff in place, and we're focusing on the needs of the school. Once again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be able to walk into that role, and I want to thank Dr. Fusel and Mr. Jenko for the support that they've already given, as well as our wonderful superintendent, Ms. Stiller. Thank you all.
Thank you. Welcome to Indy High.
Thank you, Dr. Sanders.
Welcome aboard.
I want to say, when I talked to Dr. Sanders on the phone and to let him know that the committee had unanimously, recommended him as the principal of Independence High, the first thing he said was, can I go today?
Oh, bless
Good.
you.
He was ready.
Good to have you, sir. Item 3B, accept the policy committee minutes of the whole from June the 11th.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the policy committee minutes, minutes with 2 amendments, please.
Okay? Well, let's get it on the floor first as a motion to accept the administration's recommendations. We have that as a motion.
I'll second.
Anthony, second by Ms. Abrams. I'll hear any amendments.
Okay. If we scroll down to item 9, under dress code,
Oh, boy.
I know, easy stuff.
Wait a minute.
That's what I was talking about.
Would it be easier? Well, we're accept the other things and just go to
I don't see
the members.
Oh,
Well, look, it's probably not appropriate to go through each individual item. I would just say make an amendment to because the motion is to adopt the policy committee report. So I would just say, if you have an amendment, wrap it up in an amendment, let's vote on it, and then we'll move to the
yep,
next amendment.
that's what I was kind of planning on doing. It
Okay.
just happens, it amends 2 lines from the minutes. So one of which is item 9.
Okay.
And I can, I was waiting for Miss Cindy to have it pulled up so I can say what the amendment was.
Which?
We had
Okay.
minutes from that committee meeting.
Yes, hold
Yes,
on
we
one
have it pulled
second.
up, so
Let me pull it up.
Are you printing it out? Oh, can you have it? I just made it.
Trent, which one is it? I don't see a number codes on ours.
Yeah, they're not numbered to the left, they're numbered inside the paragraph. For example, it says, motion to adopt the proposed change in item 9 under dress code
I
regulations to
got
read as, and it's just a one-word change.
Okay?
If you read the whole line, it would say students who participate in extracurricular activities, for example, sport team members, cheerleaders, spirit group dancers, band members, other drill teams may wear the group's uniform to events as opposed to class.
Okay.
This is the minutes. Is that what you wanted to see, the minutes?
So we'd want to strike the word class and add in the word events. Okay?
That's
And then-
good, that's a good way to do it, and I'll second that.
Okay? And do we need to discuss that particular amendment? Can I speak about the other one real
You want
quick?
to vote on that?
Let's go ahead and vote on that amendment.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second under
Who made the second?
I
Ms.
did.
Ms. Dominguez, under item 9, to strike the word class and add the word event.
Okay.
So the word event means they can wear it to pep rallies within the school, but they cannot wear it to school.
Yeah.
Correct.
Cannot
They
wear
would
it.
have to change in and out of the uniform.
That's basically, it's staying the same as it was before. And again, we can vote on it.
Which is good, because you want them to be able to wear it to events, in the pep rallies, and the things that it's there purposed. But I just think with all the discussion we had about short skirts last year, it's just not appropriate for us to allow short skirts when we won't allow our other students to wear short skirts.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments?
For a vote.
Call for a vote, been called for?
Cindy, did you find what the change is? You
So
got it?
we're voting on a one-word change?
Yeah,
Yes.
pull the
One word
minutes
change.
up.
Uniform to class.
Let me see something.
Under item number 9.
Right here, item number 9.
A vote supporting the amendment.
Yeah, no, I'm reading it, but what I'm saying is that the uniform to class says one thing, uniform to a scheduled event is what you're talking about?
To an event.
To a scheduled event? I mean, I'm just trying to be more refined on this because to say to event doesn't really clarify.
To an event.
To a,
Yeah, I think it needs to say something more of to an event within the school, or, because if you say to an event, that's a football game, a basketball game, something like that. We need to clarify that it's going to be an event that's happening within the school.
so the event that we're talking about would be like
Pep rally or,
a pep rally.
Well,
yeah.
Well, but
It says-
appropriate to.
it says on extracurricular days already,
That are previous.
that
Right,
are
right, it
previously
says-
designated, right?
Yep, if you read the sentence in its entirety, in fact,
Extracurricular.
it kind of explains it before and after.
Held either.
Let me reel y'all back in because we could negotiate for hours over
One
the
word.
use of different words to be grammatically correct, and I'm the last one to do that, but I would just say it's for uniform to an event. 2 words, an event.
Anyway.
Okay.
And then let that be determined by what that day would be. But basically what the amendment is doing is taking out the word class so that the intent is not to wear the particular outfits to class.
I would say uniform to extracurricular events that are previously designated. Instead of just taking the names out and just say, may wear the group's uniform to extracurricular events.
Well, that would still say
That are
uniform
Previously
to,
designated.
right. But we already have a motion that's made, so
So is it to, motion to amend item 9 to add the word and, the words "an event" and strike the word "class"?
right, groups uniform to an event on extracurricular days. And like Mr. Moore saying, we could change that, put extracurricular event, but I think the intent is still the same, regardless of how we word it.
Yeah, that's the easiest cover. way to cover it.
But I'm not opposed.
No, it's defined later on.
Right.
Yeah, it's defined.
Second
Yeah.
sentence.
But right now, the amendment is to add the word "and," A-N,
Okay.
event,
Okay.
and strike the word "class." Is that, am I, Mr. Anthony?
Yeah.
You're the one that made-
That's
Yeah.
fine with me. Yep.
So we have a motion and a second,
Yep, and a question been called.
and the question has been called for, so
Voting is open.
this is a motion to amend it.
Oh, did you want to see it again, Mr. Moore?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay?
Okay, second amendment would be on item 13. Throughout the district, Friday shall be known as Spirit Day. On Spirit Days, students will be permitted to wear school-designed and produced Spirit shirts, period, and strike the remainder.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Pause for a second so I can figure this.
Yes.
Produce Spirit shirts. So you're basically taking out the mention of blue jeans altogether,
Correct.
and then the guidelines for the blue jeans after that.
Yes. Motion to add under, yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah.
And
Read it again,
not
Mr.
to want to go back through policy again, but don't we have another policy relating to, so you're basically saying on Spirit Days, no blue jeans will be allowed whatsoever?
Correct, unless, and I think there's a,
But don't they schools,
Well, underneath the uniform regulations, the last sentence there says, blue jeans may only be worn on Spirit Days and events approved by
Right.
the superintendent.
yeah, that was the only
That-
place where we put them back in. So if we strike this, they'll be removed, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, say that again, Glenn, you had it right.
Under uniform regulations, it says blue jeans may only be worn on Spirit Days and events approved by the superintendent. So if you amend 13 to take out blue jeans, then you need to also delete that sentence. Because
That's
you're not
correct.
allowing them on Spirit Day.
That is correct as well, yes.
okay, I'll hear that as an amendment.
I'm not
I'm
clear.
gonna go back through it.
Okay.
But I just will caution us, remember, these events are used to raise money within our schools.
But,
So you're telling the schools that they will not have blue jean days
No.
whatsoever.
Well-
Okay, so
And
no.
we're doing this on a smaller crowd than the motion was originally carried for.
I want to, I mean, we can go back and add that special
Yes.
occasions section.
Yeah, I would like
That
to
was
add
your
that back
next
in,
thing, okay.
because that was the reason for the amendment is, the community partners who depend on those Dollar Jean days are no longer going to get those funds.
I don't see it that way, because I worked for an organization that did this. Just because we're not offering, just because we're saying on Fridays, doesn't mean they can't have it on a Wednesday.
It's true.
Or another time during the month. There's no reason for us to take this away from them on Fridays, just because nonprofit organizations may offer a jean day on the beginning of the month, and they're doing it the rest of the month. We only do that one time a month.
One at a time, Mr. Moore.
Yeah, I'd like to recommend that we just table that suggestion and take it back to the committee for a more thorough discussion when all of the members are here. I
We have a
personally-
motion on the table to table this amendment. Do I hear a second on the motion to table this amendment? Not a debatable,
Yeah.
do I hear a motion?
I'll make
Second.
the motion.
Okay. Hearing no second, the amendment is still on the table.
Okay.
Ms.
So,
Dominguez.
well, I guess my concern, Robin, is there's so many community partners that want us to do a Blue Jean Day, and they depend on that money. And if we don't do it, because we're doing every Friday blue jeans, and then we have Red Ribbon Week, and everybody dresses up, and then we have, Halloween, and we have homecoming, and we have PBIS days. Eventually, we're doing so many days of non-uniform. We're getting so far away from I just feel like if the superintendent has days that she's already allowed, or he, whoever it is, allowed to offer those spirit days, it's enough. I don't think we have to do it every Friday. It's taken away from the actual opportunity for our community to be our partners, which is what we've been begging for years, to be our partner.
Do we know how many organizations that we actually allow this to happen with?
I know as far as school board wise, there's only 2 or 3. As far as
United Way,
district wide.
United Way was a District 1.
Target.
I mean, we had-
Cancer Society.
And
No,
TARC,
within the
I think
schools-
options, and, I mean, there's a lot of places.
No, the only thing that's ever been done in our school system is for TARC, and that's strictly for people that do radiothon, they want to raise money, and they ask the principals to do Gene Day. And, I mean, that's during just the high schools. That's not, I don't think we do it for any other organization other than what y'all said.
Those 2 we mentioned district-wide.
Right.
I just,
One at a time. Ms. Richards?
I'd just like to say, after we discussed that, I have received several calls from the north end appreciating us considering the jeans for Fridays, because, you know, we don't really have the
A little diversity.
the
in
diversity.
uniform.
We don't have the diversity in uniform.
Okay,
they
so
were
right now,
excited.
just to sum it up again, and Mr. Anthony, you might want to help me with this to make sure. On that item 13, Ms. Jenkins, on Spirit Days, students will be permitted to wear school-designed and produced spirit shirts, period.
Period. Yep.
Strike everything after that. And then, on the next one, where it says blue jeans may be worn on Spirit Days and events, how would that change be? Mr. Lawyer?
Wait, which one is that on,
Well, I
Mr.
mean,
Toller?
You're taking it out of 13,
Right under.
that they're not allowed to wear blue jeans on Spirit Days, so
Oh, okay.
you wouldn't
Take out the
allow them
word
to
To
wear it.
add
Well,
under,
if it's approved by the superintendent or his or her designee, that would still be on the days that we allowed them
Why don't you
before.
just take out on Spirit Days and put on any events approved by the superintendent?
That would
Blue
be fine
jeans
as well.
may be
Yeah.
worn for events approved by the superintendent or his or her designee.
Doesn't have to be Spirit Day, it could be.
Okay.
That's right.
Does that match the intent of your amendment, Mr. Anthony?
Yes.
Okay? I want to explain
But-
that again to Ms. Jenkins so she can make sure that that's,
Okay, so then,
hold on. Mr. Westmoreland, you want to read it?
Okay.
so is this under uniform
Yes,
regulations?
Yes, pants.
Okay,
It's the 4th paragraph.
right.
So it should say blue jeans may be worn on event days approved by the superintendent or his/her designee.
And then strike the rest.
I just feel like we have a lot of open dress days on our campus.
Hold up. Ms. Richards was next.
Hold on, now, let me make sure she's got it.
Okay. I just typed it how it should read. You want me to show it on the screen?
Correct, please.
Okay, hold on one second.
And then make sure Mr. Anthony is okay with the amendment.
Yeah, the amendment looks good to me.
Are you reading from what we submitted? 'Cause I don't see the exact wording.
Is that okay, Mr. Anthony?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Look at uniform regulations. So you
Took down Spirit Days.
I can't.
I got you.
And look, for my 2 cents, I see both sides of this coin, but I feel like we debated this during the committee, bringing
I
it to
can't
the
hear you.
full thing. I know the 2 members that are not here, I know which way they would side on this. So my vote's going to be just to leave it alone on this particular one. Don't mean to say that this way. Anybody else, either way, I can see both sides of it. Any
Can I
other
make
questions?
one more point before we vote? Is that okay?
Yeah.
So if the purpose of these uniform changes were to make things easier for the administration at the school level, then if you throw jeans into a mix on a regular basis, It's going to start with blue jeans. It's going to end up with stone wash, red pants, white pants, pants with holes, pants with cut-off bottoms. And if our purpose, again, is to make our administrators' lives more easy, I don't think throwing a piece of uniform into the mix every single week is going to make their lives any easier.
All right, so point taken.
Okay, so we have you, on the number 13 motion, the item that we added in, it says, blue jeans must meet the
We did-
district
we took
guidelines,
that out.
meaning without holes.
We took that out.
That would be taken out in this amendment.
So, but I mean, but that defeats the purpose as far as I'm concerned, when you have a fear of that happening, but you take it out. If you just leave that in, then you're basically covering the thing that you're worried about.
Still policing it.
I do agree with you, but one of our rules that we changed, we're allowing untucked shirts, which I'm perfectly fine supporting. But the reason why we're doing that is because everybody was doing it already. And it was too much of a disciplinary issue. So we're dialing it back, and we're making our lives easier at the administration level, at the school level. So if we throw in another situation like this, where blue jeans can be 25 different color blues and 25 or 50 other colors that aren't blue, and then blue jeans get frayed. You know, well, these are the pants I bought at the beginning of the year that I wear every Friday. So 35 times later, they're going to have frays. Well, you know, it's just, I just feel like it's going to muddy the water of how the uniform should look. So.
So I'm gonna make the motion again that we table this.
Okay.
I'm okay waiting for the full board if we need to wait, you know.
We have a motion to table. Do we hear a second? Hearing no second. We'll hear call for a vote on the amendment.
Call for a question.
Question's been called for as amended. Check your screens to make sure that you understand.
So did the table motion fail?
Fail.
Failed.
We did not have a table.
Okay.
Fail for lack of a second.
Yes. So right now, the vote would be to accept the amendment as proposed by Mr. Anthony. A no vote would be to leave the report as is.
Ready?
Ready.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion fails.
Okay, so that amendment fails. Are there any other amendments to be offered to this committee report?
Yes, I'd like to make an amendment, a motion to the stipend for the APs by increasing each category by 2%.
What?
That would mean the elementary school would go from 11 to 13, middle school from 13 to 15, and high school from 19 to 21.
Okay, we have that amendment on the floor. Do we have a second to that amendment?
What page is
I'll
it?
go
Page
over back
22 in the.
It's on action A, consider
Page
the
22
approval
on
of
the-
the salary
on
schedule.
the salary schedule.
So we have to pull the salary schedule up to look.
I need a second for that motion, please.
Second.
Second. Okay, just explaining this, we talked about it a little bit last month. We didn't make any adjustments to the assistant principal's stipends. They get a regular pay plus that like 1.11 or 11%, or if it's a middle school, they get a 13%. If it's a high school, they get a 19%. Those numbers have been the same for years. We are under Livingston Parish, we are under St. Tammany Parish. We looked at this. If we go more than 2%, I think we're going to get into where we close the gap between our principals and our APs, and there's not enough gap there. So a 2% is a small jump, but at least it shows our APs that they were considered in the salary schedule. It doesn't get us the Livingston Parish rates. It doesn't get us the St. Tammany rates, but it does help bring us up a little bit. Affecting the budget is a small number. I mean, you're not talking about that many people, but it just bumps their stipends up by 2%.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So, Mr. McNeely, if we change, we don't know how much this is going to cost. Is there a way that we can bring that one thing back after you give us some numbers of the change it's going to be? to the budget and how it's going to affect the other budgets, we just go ahead and vote to accept the proposed, what you've already presented, and then y'all come back, we can still adjust it, it's a work in progress, right? We just have to.
Whatever the board asks to do tonight, I'll do.
Do you have,
I only have one amendment to the salary schedule, and I believe I emailed you about that we changed the second payroll date from the 28th to the 26th each month. That's on page 5.
Oh, well, we had to have a motion for that too then? I'm just wondering if you how would you have a ballpark figure about how much money would that affect in the overall budget that you would have to adjust? I mean, if we vote to ask you to change something, we don't even know how much we're changing it for.
Give me just a minute.
Excuse me, Mr. Toller, I didn't get Ms. Abrams' increase.
I'll give it to you again, Cindy. It's a 2%.
For everybody?
Elementary would go from 11 to 13.
Assistant principal.
This is for APs. Middle school would go from 13 to 15. And high school would go from 19 to 21.
Middle school.
Middle school is from 13 to 15.
Okay, high school.
19.
And then 19 to 21.
Thank you, ma'am.
About $120,000,
Per year.
including benefits.
So that's not going to break the bank.
Not going to break my bank.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to adjust the salary schedule for the APs with a 2% increase. Any other questions? Okay, call for a vote.
This is just the vote on the amendment, right?
Just a vote on the amendment. I think Mr. McNeely has one more for us.
Vote, oh,
Oh,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Cindy.
voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Mr. McNeely.
Page 5.
Page 5.
Paragraph 9 and paragraph 10, both referred to the second check of the month being on the 28th. We got a call from the principal saying that some of the employees were concerned because they had their auto drafts set up for the 26th. So even though we were paying on the 14th and then on the 28th, they would have to move their auto drafts back to the 28th. It was easier just to make that second payroll date match.
The 26th.
26th. So the 14th and the 26th, except for our weekends and holidays, which is all outlined. So that
Right, so change the date from 28 to 26.
in 1, 2, 3
You
different
already have
places.
that?
I mean, I typed it in, yeah.
Do you have the one I sent you, the clean version?
I do not.
Okay, so, I think you can just adopt the administration's recommendation.
Okay, do I hear amendment to adopt the administration's recommendation?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Richard, second by Mr. Westmoreland, to adopt administration's recommendation for this amendment, to change the date from the 28th to the 26th for the second payroll of each month. Any questions, concerns, public input? Hearing none, I'll call for vote. That was the easiest one, if it passes.
Voting is open.
Jenkins will never let me run this meeting again.
Do what? What?
Said you won't let me run a meeting again after this.
I don't. Voting is closed. Oh, Mr. Mingus?
I was trying to read it. I was thinking it said the opposite of what he just said. I hope not.
Your vote registered not present.
Oh.
Do you want yes or no?
Well, yes. I
Okay,
mean, I was
okay.
voting. I hit it. It just
Okay.
didn't get there quick enough.
Okay, so
Motion
now,
pa-
I'm sorry, motion passed.
I was late.
Now we need a motion to accept the committee report as amended.
Okay, I'll make the motion.
Mr. Anthony made the motion. We need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Westmoreland to adopt the committee report as amended. Any comments, questions, concerns, public input?
All for the question.
Vote's been
Is-
called for.
What,
Vote
can I ask a
by-
question? Yeah. Mr. McNeely, you sent us an email earlier today about the stipend for the bus drivers for athletic.
I'm okay to leave it like it is.
Yeah, I was just going to leave it like it is for the time being. I talked to several board members and several other coaches, and we really want to come back, like this is a work in progress budget, come back at some point after we can have a better discussion on those couple of things that are missing.
Okay.
But we're good to just leave it like it is for the time being.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Please vote your device.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Item 4A, Superintendent's Report.
Yes, Mr. President. Tonight, we have 3 policies we want to refer to our policy committee, our next policy committee. That's policy, the first one is JGCF, the second JGCFA. Both of those are related to behavioral health support for students. And then we have the third policy, GB or IB, which is sick leave. We want to refer that policy as well to our next policy committee.
I hear that in the form of a motion.
Make a motion.
Motion made by Ms. Abrams,
Second.
second by Mr. Westmoreland. Any questions? Public input? Call for a vote.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Yeah, Ms.
Tilly,
Fuller,
anything else on your reports?
do we ask her something about her email she sent us today?
What email?
Oh, wait, I didn't want to jump ahead until he recognized me.
Go ahead. We'll let you start board member comments. How about that?
Well, you had sent the email about, some governor signed bills
Oh, yeah.
that we're going to have to adjust, so we'll be sending some more policies, I'm assuming, right? For all the different new bills that have been passed?
Right. We have a team today that was at a meeting with Attorney John Geis about the new changes. And so there were some bills related to certain offenses. For instance, if students had weapons or drugs at school, it's a 2-year, or was it 4-year? 4-year. No. Yeah, 4, I'm getting it mixed up. 4 full semesters, 2 years. And then also, there were some other things related to, that were signed in, related to expulsion for certain offenses too. So they're going to bring that back, and we will be working that into our policy and code of conduct in July, getting ready for school.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank all the committee members that we had appointed to serve on that strategic group for our coaches and our stipends, and I see a couple of them back there in the room. It was a lot of work, but we got about 80%, I think, of what we had, so far, what we'd requested. So thank y'all, if you relay that to in your emails. It was a lot of work, and I think we need to have that committee as a standing committee, so that, because that's always something that needs to be addressed and changed to go through our athletic director, and so I appreciate everybody for that.
With flip sides, we'll work on the outside, work our way in.
Only thing I have to say tonight is for everyone just to remember the Brunette family in your prayers at this time. This is going to be a long, drawn-out trial for them, and they're going to really need the community support with the death of their daughter and their granddaughter, and it's just unbelievable that something like this can happen in our small little community like this, and I just can't even imagine that the heartache that they're going through right now. So everyone just keep them in your prayers, and I know the funeral is going to be this coming week for both Callie and her sweet little daughter, and if everybody just can remember them and try to lift them up as much as possible. I know there's some GoFundMe's out there that the Old Farmers Day has posted on their Facebook page. If you feel generous and you want to do that, to go to the Old Farmers Day page and give to them on that page.
Thank you. Mr. Westerland.
Well, I hope everyone is enjoying the summer. I know the children are, and the teachers. Hopefully get some good rest and get ready for next year. And I see why Mr. Piazza and Mr. Duncan did miss the meeting tonight. Make sure they'll look at the meeting so they can have their discussions on dress code, because we won't be able to speak about it for another year. So hope everyone has a good evening.
Mr. Anthony.
Thank you. I did this last week, Dr. Sanders. I congratulated you when you weren't here, but congratulations again. I told a quick little story. Every time I went to the high school, Ponchatoula High, Dr. Sanders was walking the halls, interacting with the students, and so the AP group over there is great, but I think you did a really great job, because I saw you every time I was there. So congratulations to the Independence community. They're getting a good principal there. I wanted to also say, I think going forward, I should get anybody who has a kid that they get dressed for school in the morning that goes to Tangipahoa Parish Schools should get 2 votes. So I'd like to make that motion for, that's it. Oh, I'm gonna take up a donation for these True Religion jeans they're gonna be asking for too. So if y'all wanna help me out with that, I'll just collect that after the meeting tonight. No, I'm just kidding, but I'm glad we got that salary schedule stuff through, and the coach stipends and things like that. AP's getting a raise. Dr. Sanders, too late for you now, sorry. But no, I'm glad we got all that stuff passed, and I just want everybody to know that we listen to what you say. We try to implement it as quickly as possible. It takes some time to get this stuff done, but I appreciate everybody's input, and thank you.
No comments? Ms. Janice.
I'd just like to give my condolences to the Burnett, the Cooper, because we've had some deaths in the Kentwood area and some tragic accidents to happen. The Cooper and the Broomfield and Briggs family. Also, on a positive note, I just want to say that our eyes is still on Jermaine Brown. He was up at Ole Miss camp, and he placed first again in the 100, let me make sure I'm saying this right, the 100-meter dash, and his time was 10:59. So we're very, very proud of him, and our eyes is on him. And I wanted to say to the schools, because I've been watching on Facebook, and I've been to some of the schools and seen the summer learning program, and the kids are really, really having a good time. So we're proud of that. To the principals that have done the Meet the Principals, they are doing just awesome, and you're finding out little bitty things about them that you wouldn't have known. And that's kind of going out into the community, because on Facebook they're talking about it back and forth. So we're enjoying that, and we want to say thank you for putting that out there. Also, we want to encourage all of you to go on our website and apply for all of these positions and jobs that are out there, because it's a great place to work at Tangipahoa Parish School System. Thank you.
Ms. Dilley? Last words. Yeah, just real quick, our Sumner family, Ms. Shaughnessy Matthews is moving on to another position. So we were advertising for the Sumner principal. So I'm sure there's going to be a competitive position to hopefully it's competitive, and hopefully have a lot of applicants that apply for it. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I appreciate Ms. Matthews and her leadership while she was here, and I wish her well in the future. I'm also don't want to miss the chance to say this. This board, as you can see, for those that are here, sometimes we agree on things one week and the next week we're fighting against something, but when we walk away from this, it's a group of 9 people that believe in trying to improve our school system, and whether we agree or disagree one night, our motives are always the same, to improve our school system and represent the people in our district. Pastor Brown, thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for representing us and leading us in prayer tonight. Anything else to be brought before we go to executive session? If not, I'll entertain a motion to enter executive session.
Motion to enter executive session to consider the case of Casey Felder versus TPSB.
Okay, do I hear a motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Channel 17, proudly serving the Florida parishes.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion to adopt council's recommendation.
I have a motion. I have a second from
Second.
Mr. Minguez. Any thoughts, concerns, questions, or debate? No public input? Call for a vote.
Yes.
Everybody all close our computers.
I'm voting on my computer.
See, I'm not just up in the, you know.
I'm assuming motion carries. Unanimous. No public input tonight that I know of. Otherwise, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Heard and accepted. Thank y'all.